So do you understand? So that's what it means when it says that you have to start with Yira. And that's why it says in this third, it says, Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of Hashem. Because that's really what it has to be. If you really want to get wisdom, you have to understand what reality is. And it doesn't say Reishis Chachma Avas Hashem. The beginning of Chachma is love of Hashem, because love of Hashem is very tricky. People think they love Hashem. Oh, I love you, Hashem. If you don't have Yiras Hashem first, you're not going to have Avas Hashem, because you don't even know what you're talking about. Yiras Hashem means I have a reverence for God. You start looking back and seeing what God means, where He came from, where the world came from. Let's look at reality. And once I define what Messias is, once I define reality, then we can have love. I'm not saying we shouldn't have love. Love can only come after Yira. That's the point we're trying to make over here. To say, when you say I love you, it should be honest. Wouldn't you want it to be honest? Or do you want it just an expression of seduction? So to say I love you means, right, and that's something that will take time, but it will be honest. It's after there's this yira, where this understanding of the emerging reality, and now with time you're beginning to see that this reality is coming to the fruition that it's meant to be. And I want to be, remember, what does that mean? I want to be near you. But why do I want to be near you? Because your good looks bedazzled me to want to be near you? That's a pisui. I want to be near you because the reality is defining itself as this is the perfect reality. The two of us, as it were now, were meant for each other from Hashem's perspective, and now I want to be next to you and near you to be able to develop what God wants us to develop into. And then you say, I love you, then that really means something. And but unfortunately, we live in a world where all the music and all the books, the romance books, all these things are all based on pisui. So we figure we have to do it the way it's done, or else there's no love. And therefore, many times when one spouse is asking their spouse, do you love me? They really are wanting a pisui response, and they're not really looking for the deeper response. If the husband says, not yet, dear, but it will come, you get all upset. Well, the truth is, the spouse should be very happy they're getting an honest answer. And but there's nothing wrong with that. To expect love to come from seduction, that's phoniness. I love you. What does it really say? I love your blonde hair. But you love me? How do I know who you are? We haven't been together long enough to know who you are. I know you're rich. I know you're beautiful. I know you're witty. I know you're this. So I want to be next to that. That's not you. That's just the baggage that God gave you. It's not who you are. It's not a deep, true love. Because what happens 30, 50 years from now, when your looks are gone, everyone who's gorgeous now, 50, 60 years from now, will not be gorgeous by those definitions. Not going to be able to make money then, won't be as witty. But then you really will love the person even more, because you will have accomplished what you were meant to accomplish with that person. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say
Oh, brave one.
Okay.
It's afraid to talk. Go ahead.
Would you say that a shadchan is, in your opinion, therefore better than the parents because they're less biased?
Okay, you have to know if okay, you're raising a good point. You have to have a person who's the least biased. So healthy parents can be very unbiased, right? Only problem is, how do you get two healthy parents together? So that's where you need the shadchan, because there's a lot of awkward things that happen. You're friends with them, and really you don't want your kid to go out with that kid for a reason, but they think they do. And so you have a shadchan, the middleman, who just makes things diplomatically work out. But and it could be some parents are blind, are biased themselves. If the parents are biased, they think their child is God's gift to the world. Well, that's a problem also. So again, hopefully, if the parents, we would hope, would be unbiased and understand what kind of schleira they have, what kind of merchandise their kid is, and to realize the faults that their child has. And if they don't think their kids have any faults, then they certainly should not be involved, because they don't know anything about their kids. Right? They have virtues too, but if you don't think your kid has any faults, You know, I love when shadchanim call me about people, you know, they want to know about the person's faults, you know, as if that's going to be a big criteria. I said, and let me ask you, your daughter doesn't have any faults? Maybe you tell me some of your daughter's faults first. I mean, that's part of the game. You come to the table with certain faults, and we have to understand. What? The shadchan's dishonest. There's a problem. There's a problem. I'm not. Listen, this world is not perfect. There are shadchanim who know they get paid by their success rate. Yeah. So there could be unscrupulous shadchan too. Okay, listen. Everything can be unscrupulous, but where is there a better likelihood of us getting a clearer read? The one who's the most biased is the person themselves. That's for sure. So you have to do, you know, these background checks. And I don't mean, you know, just know, is the past the kind of past that can bring a present that can make the future happen down the line? So who's best qualified for that should be involved in that. Yeah, did you have a question?
Yeah.
I hope we'll get back to Amalek.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing.
When parents are making the decision, though, would you consider it within the category of being rational or being seduced, the consideration of the wealth of the other side?
For sure. That's what I'm saying. They could be biased too. You have to be careful.
So you wouldn't consider that irrational?
There could be parents who are not rational also. I'm not denying that. But again, so now who would really be the best people to make this shidduchim? Who would be the best? The guy's Rosh Hashiva. The guy's rabbi. Really. You know, you should really have, you know, the rabbis getting along and making shidduchim, or you have a lot of nice women who are very unbiased, and that's why it's falling into the shadchan's hands, because many parents are too biased.
But
they're not making enough rational decisions over here.
It seems at these levels that financial considerations do come to the forefront, and I'm wondering if you feel that in an ideal world they should not at all.
Listen, in an ideal world they shouldn't, but then there's practicalities, and if finances are an important issue, that tells us a lot of the people involved. It tells us a lot of the flaws that are existent. You know, and then there's pragmatics as well. Listen, if a guy wants to sit and learn Torah for another 5 years, which is not unreasonable, okay, now the question is, how is that going to happen? So it depends what kind of person he is. Is he a real, sincere, budding scholar, or the kind who wants all the comforts of life type of scholar? So you're going to know what kind of guy you're getting into. You know, if you really love to learn Torah, you don't have to have a house nicer than your parents. You don't have to have a lifestyle that's better than people who work for a living, which unfortunately exists out there and can be bought for. So that's all part of the seduction game, which you want to stay away from. There's certain things you never really want to ask a lot about. Money is one of them. But there are practicalities. A person who really wants to learn Torah, some of the Chavetz Chaim was able to learn Torah without any parnasa. You know, a person who sincerely wants to learn Torah will learn Torah under any circumstances. And they'll learn like the Mishnah says, Paschal, the dark of Torah, it's bread and water. If you really love Torah, that's what you're going to do. No, I love Torah because it's a lot easier than working for a living. They won't say that, but it's glorified to us. Then you have problems. It's a big topic. I don't want to really fall more into it than we have already. Okay, but what I wanted to get clear is what's this Yira business? That's what I wanted to get clear. The idea of it's not fear, it's appreciating the emerging reality that comes into this world. And not to be fooled by the temporal presence. That is clear. And when we say, Ava, I love something, if it only comes from the here and now, that is a pisui. That's a seduction. It's not real and won't last and will not make you happy. Will only temporarily make you happy, and when you're finished, you really don't have any sense of more. We'll see in a minute how much further this goes. Okay, now let's get to Amalek. Okay, let's try to get back to Amalek. Oh, so now one more point. Interesting. In this creation of the world, okay, the first act of creation, God said, Vayehi or, let there be light. The first thing God created was or. Or is from what word? What?
Isn't it close to Yara?
Yes, exactly. It's the same as liros, yira, to see. It's the same thing. And with light, you can see. So now, the beginning of God's creation and connection to the world, even though it's a world of seduction, within the world of seduction, God starts us as Vayehi or, let there be life. Meaning this is the beginning of reality. Now, what do you know about light? One thing's for sure about light. light can only come from somewhere else, from there being a source of light. The fact that there's light on this table, right? So like, where is the light? I can see my notes. No, you know why? Because the light's coming from here. No, the light's coming from right there. There's a source for the light. It's coming right in over here. Light can only come from somewhere else. Light doesn't have its own existence. The light over here comes from the sun over there. So light always says, I come from somewhere else to illuminate. That's the idea. What you see here is not the reality. The light comes from somewhere else. That's what it means, liros, to see, and to be in awe and inspiration of that reality. So Hashem, in the creation of this big billboard of seduction, He shows us, though, be careful what you're looking at, and don't look at what's here, but look at, no, there's a source to it, and based on the source and the future, that will define the reality we have over here. So now, the Medrash says in source number 4, God called the light day. The Medrash says, Ze Yaakov, this is Yaakov. And the darkness He called Lila, Ze Esav, this is Esav. Meaning that the whole perception of Esav is, what I see before my eyes is the truth, and that's the whole source of pisui, of the seduction and the billboards, that external beauty that he sees. A beauty in terms of what is in front of me, but not an emerging beauty that comes from within. Okay, and there is a lot of this beauty, but it's not really a deep beauty, and it's not coming from a lot of depth from before that what you see. So now, truth is, this is everything that the advertisement industry is all about. Is all the world of Esav. It's all the world of Pisui. All the advertisers, there's only one thing they want. Only one thing they want. Do they want you to look good? Do they want you to be healthy? Do they want you to find your match? Do they want you to find your true love? Well, they want one thing. Take money out of your wallet. That's the only thing they want. Now, that's the last thing they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you how much they want your happiness. They want you to feel alive and this and successful and all these things. But it's all based on Pesach and L'chol Dover. This is it. It begins and ends in this world. Now, with this, we understand something amazing, a phenomena about old age. In old age. And there was a song many years ago that talks about old friends sitting at Saturday on a park bench and talking about how they're talking about the past, and they look at old pictures and things like that. And I'll just read the last couple lines to it. It says, time it was, and what a time it was a time of innocence, a time of confidences. Long ago it must be, I have a photograph. Prison your memories, there all that's left to you. So what does that mean? As people grow older, many, they become very obsessed with the past. Nostalgia, right? Zikna, old age, brings to a person very often only the pictures of the past. Crying over memories of the past, maybe even getting chizuk, encouragement from the past. If your perception of reality is colored by the world of seduction, if that's how you've been living your life, that everything is what you see, what you see, what you see is what you get, the result is, to the degree that you get older, you realize there's very little left ahead of you in life. And most of your life is already past. Now that's very scary. If everything was always the present, what's happening now, right? So then you're getting older, then most of the nows are then, in the past, right? And the past is all gone. And what's worse is the person doesn't feel there's any continuity. And we say what was the best. And what remains is the slow disintegration of reality. It's the diminishment of the person's being, and there really isn't a lot to look forward into the future. There's not a lot there. It's interesting, little children, even though they can remember the past, because there's not that much to forget anyway, but one thing little children rarely do is reminisce. They remember, but they don't reminisce. All of us, I remember, and when the face, I remember when When Elvis performed, and I saw him perform on the stage in 1962, that's the whole sale of the what do you call it, the Casino-rama. Yeah, bringing all the singers from the 50s and the 60s, because there's nothing else to look forward to, man. You're already over the hill. So you go back to whatever the
maybe they cost less to bring in.
Maybe I don't know if they cost. I don't know.
That's the reason.
but I'm saying, but who's going to see them? Not people that are 15, 16, 17.
Sure.
How are you going to get the money from the whatever term we're going to use, the older people in life, right? The older people in life don't want to relate to the modern people because it's not them. There's no future for them, so they go into the past. But children, they don't have to reminisce. Why? Because children see themselves, they have a whole life in front of them. They see a whole life that's unfolding. And the child instinctively feels that he's part of something that's amazingly going to happen. The pure child, that's being corrupted, unfortunately. But for a young child, everything's inspiring. You got the whole life ahead. There's so much still yet to play out. On the other hand, the person who always was living just for the present moment, there's a time when it will catch up with you. And they say, with all the present moments, it's just a bunch of photographs that are sitting there. What do I have now? Because there was no emerging past developing into an emerging future. And now there's nothing left. And that's why they reminisce in the past, because that's really all that they have to reminisce. Great people who understand life don't have to reminisce. You remember the past, but you don't reminisce in the past. So this is when we finish reading the Megillah, we say Shoshanas Yaakov Tzahola V'Samecha. Shoshanas Yaakov really means the rose of Yaakov. The rose. Yaakov, the Jewish people are like a rose. Tzahola V'Samecha have great joy and simcha. So where does simcha come from? From realizing we're like an emerging, blossoming rose that's growing and gets better. And the best way to define the healthy Jewish people is the Jewish people are the oldest and the youngest people in the world. In other words, we're old, we've come from a very long history, but we still have such an amazing future still yet to come. There's still much more to come. There's still Mashiach. There's what it's going to take to bring the Mashiach. And no matter, and who are the most revered Jews in the world? It's the old rabbis, the old Rebbitzins, who have the whole past, the richness of Jewish history and experience, and how they play it into the present time and help us with our future. They don't have to go to Casino-rama to reminisce about the past, because everything they did in the past is useful for the present and even more useful for the future. You go to an old rabbi who has millions of pages of Talmud in his mind, experience in life, and you say, Rabbi, what should I do for my future? He'll tell you, because he knows what the past was like, he knows where your future should go, and he doesn't have to reminisce in the past. And that's what it says in Tehillim, Od Yenuvim B'Seva D'Shenim Rananim. Even when you get older and older, you wax fat and rich and spiritual and healthy and moist, while the rest of the nations of the world become old and they have sad memories. And that's what Esav said. Esav, the father of Amalek, when he sold his birthright, he says, if you want the pot of beans, you got to sell the birthright. He says, what do I need it for? I'm going to die anyway. I don't see beyond the here and now anyway. So he can never recapture the moment that will never be again. In the world of Yaakov, there's no such thing as old age. You always feel that there's something yet going to happen. A person who lives in the here and now, and the here and now, and the here and now, and the here and now. So now you're 75, 85. What is in your here and now already? Well, another golf game. Another Casino-rama performance. I mean, what is there? And as you get older, it becomes less enjoyable. You can't hear it so well. You can't see it so well. So what's left? Right? That's where... What?
Your grandchildren.
Your grandchildren.
That's deeper.
That's already a deeper thing, but you had to invest in that. How many people even have grandchildren anymore? People aren't even getting married. The next generation isn't even getting married. Right? And so you have one or two grandchildren that live far away, and you see them once in a yovel. Many times. I'm not saying always. But I'm saying, but if you spent your whole life that every moment wasn't the reality it is, but it's part of an emergent past and future, that still exists. Person says, I've been davening for 50 years and I'm building and I've been learning and I've been doing chesed. I've built a structure that I'm going to be moving into soon. But I still have to put up a porch, and I've got a 15-story building. I think I can make an 18-story building before I'm done. So at the very end, I'm building and building and building. And you're always feeling a sense of, I'm still moving. And I've got all that intelligence that I've stored that's of purpose. While a person was working to make a living, now money is of no value. You don't work anymore. So what's all that time you were working for? What's it worth now? Just live off the interest that the economy wiped half of it off anyway out of your RSP? So that's the difference. Shoshanas Yaakov, Soholav Samecha. So Amalek took the worst part of Esav. The worst part of Esav. And what Amalek does is that there's, Yaakov, we have Yaakov versus Esav. And what Yaakov represents, Tiferes, glory, kavod, honor. And the Maharal explained, we explained a few weeks ago, kavod comes from the word kavod, which means heavy, giving value to something that bears weight, something that's chashuv, something that's, has serious value. And we honor things that we feel have value. And we understand when we as Jews value things, we value things that come from deeper places. We value a tzaddik, because a tzaddik has a history of where he came from and what he's done. He carries with him so many beautiful things. We have all kinds of Jewish values that we have. Because we have this yiras shamayim, this fear of God, we understand that every value is translated from the fact it comes from God's original plan for what he wants from this world. And that's awesome and that's inspiring. On the other hand, it says in Source 6, Leitz Taka Pesiyarin, the let's, the joker. There's only one solution for the joker. You have to smash him. And the Pesi, the fool, could get smart by watching us smash the ridiculer. Amalek is called a leitz. Is called a joker. It's called a mocker. What is a mocker? What is the power of mockery? That's Amalek, which is against the glory of Yaakov. What does that mean? Amalek takes this false world, the most temporary aspects of reality, and falsely gives them a tremendous amount of weight and a lot of honor. Yaakov, he looks deeper into the world, and what he honors is something that really is from an emerging era that deserves a lot of honor. Being a person who doesn't speak Lashon Hara, being a person who's careful to be kind to people, a person who uses his Torah knowledge to help other people. That's already, you have to go deep to honor these kinds of things. Amalek looks for the very shallow things and gives a lot of honor to that. And the most shallow things in this world are taken the most seriously. Like, how many gold medals will Canada win at the Olympics? That is going to define to be a proud Canadian. I think more Canadians are proud. I have no idea. I haven't been following this at all. All I heard in the beginning this idea: will Canada win gold on Canadian soil? This is like the whole news, like 2 weeks ago. Will Canada win gold on Canadian soil? What does it matter if it's on Canadian soil, on German soil? Like what does it do for the world? Now, what Canada should be proud of, right now at least, they have a prime minister who at least is honest about how to deal in the Middle East. That they should take pride in, because that's something that's deep. No, the fact that they got one guy who's been practicing 1,000,000 times, to push his body to the limit, that he can... I don't even know what they're doing in this Winter Olympics. I never could relate to Winter Olympics. Summer Olympics, I could at least... The Winter Olympics, is, because I don't like the cold. At least they can speed skate. It's okay, so the guy spent his whole life learning how to go fast in a circle. I'm a speed skater. I mean, what does this? It means you can go around the thing fast. So now what did you do for the world? The world is a better place because you could speed quickly? Like, what did you accomplish? The world is a better place because you put a black puck in a net. Oh, that's amazing. And now when you're 85 years old, what has your contribution to the world been? That's why in sports there's a big chashivas to the Hall of Fame. It's a Hall of Fame. Because a guy in 1958 was able to kick a field goal to win a game, we're going to remember that forever. Well, the guy now is selling narcotics to people. What you watch, it's incredible what you see now. All these sports figures, they're all getting killed. These guys are bringing guns to the dressing room. The best players are bringing guns. They're catching with guns, bringing guns to the dressing rooms. I don't know what they're doing. They got to throw the guy out. It's incredible. They have no lives, but they're the Hall of Fame. So what? There's all Amalek. We give kavod to things that are totally ridiculous. I'm not saying, there's something wrong with just, you ought to take your kids Saturday night and just play a little hockey for some exercise. I mean, that's fine. I'm not against that. It's a good thing. But if we deify this, what will make Canada proud? We won the gold medal in hockey. So what does that prove? What does that do? What is that of value of it? But they are ascribing so much value to that. Who's a beautiful movie star? Who say lines over? And people pay billions of dollars, right, to watch a bunch of behemoths jumping on each other. They're paying billions of dollars to do this, and this is the darkness, and this is what Amalek gives a lot of kavod to, a lot of honor. And that's the problem. The things that shouldn't have weight shouldn't be. And these people, these are the scoffers, these are the jokers. They're making a joke of life. Your life is the most precious thing you can have. And what's going to be with that life? And we spend our whole time just worrying on the here and now. Okay, it was a great game. I can't wait to go to the next game. And then when the game's over, then what? So I was really when I was a kid, I was very seriously into sports. Like, unbelievable. You wouldn't believe that. I'm sure you can believe it. When I was a teenager, I knew like everything in sports. I watched everything, like the most ridiculous things. Like even like minor league baseball batting averages, like everything. It was like, and I loved watching Sunday 2 football games, like, so unbelievable. And I don't know why, sometime in my late teens, I was watching this great game, and then I don't know, for some reason Hashem had me think for a minute. I said, so okay, he made a great kick, they won the Super Bowl, and then I asked the question, I said, and now what? So they were world champions for this day, and then next year there'll be another world champion. So like, what changed in the world? What made the world anything special? And they came to me and says, this is stupid. It's really stupid. My father was when I was younger, and I'd be jumping and screaming if the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were in a playoff game and they had to win this game in the playoffs, and they took a shot and they missed. I go, oh! So my father says, I understand. He says, do you have stock in this team? Do you have stock in this team? Like, oh, if you have stocks, okay, you're losing money, but like it's no light. So that's what Amalek is. It's Reishis Goyim Amalek. It's the first nation. They're opposed to Yiras Elokim. That's what the Medrash started off with. Who can destroy Amalek? It was Yoshua who was sent to destroy Amalek. Why? Because he comes from Yosef. Because Yosef specializes in Yiras Elokim. He understands that the only real values are the emerging values of reality that Hashem has provided in this world. Amalek says, whatever is here and now, that's what's valuable, and we'll spend billions for the here and now. But the past and the present have nothing to do with our lives. Now I can understand why Amalek is so terrible, and when we come to Pesach, and we'll conclude with this. What do we call the Exodus experience in Hebrew? What are the 2 words? Yetzias Mitzrayim. Did you ever figure out why they use those 2 words? Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yetzia, the word Mitzius, reality, comes from Yetzia. The whole world believed that Egypt was it. Egypt was the most modern culture that was there. They're the beginnings of what Amalek would become. And it was such a superficial world. And Hashem now showed with the 10 plagues and the splitting of the sea, he said, you know what? This world has a deeper reality. And the world saw an emergence of something deeper. It was a Yetzirah. It was a reality, a movement, Mitzrayim, from the straits of the narrow way of looking at life. It was Yetzirah to go out of that. And the whole world was shaking from this. And the whole world was beginning to ask the questions, where is everything coming from? Where is things going to? But then comes Amalek along, and they say, you know what we're going to do? We know we're going to lose. We're going to fight them. And they gave the analogy of the hot bath, that everybody's afraid to touch the water, and then a Meshuggah jumps in and kills himself on the spot. He gets burnt by that, but everybody says, you know, if somebody did it, maybe we could do it too. Right? But when Yetzias Mitzrayim meant it's time to take the world more seriously. It's time to take a little bit more responsibility. And what does Amalek do? Amalek says, nah, that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. We're not impressed by this. There are other things that are a big deal. And that's what happened. And then it made us feel tired and old if you don't look at those deeper realities. And that's really the whole battle that's going on with Amalek. And Amalek changes what we think should be the deepest reality and looks at it as the smallest. So that was what Esav was. Esav only looked at the here and now. Amalek says, let's look only at the here and now, and we'll ascribe value to that which is not valuable. And that's why it says, normally we're not allowed to have any type of leitzanus. Leitzanus, mockery, is not allowed, generally speaking, in Judaism. You're not allowed to we're not into making jokes of things, to mock things. Because mocking things takes away the value of something. So in one thing you're allowed to mock, and that's falseness. You can mock idol worship. Like Shmuel Hanavi, like Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu, when he was against the false prophets, and he went to Mount Carmel, and he said, okay, you're going to bring an offering, I'm going to bring an offering, you get your guys to bring down a fire to heaven and bring them down. So they bring the animal, and they're trying to, and nothing's happening. And Eliyahu says, what's with your God? Is he in the bathroom? Is he at dinner? He was mocking it. Why? Because you mock things that really people are trying to build up that should have no value. To mock movie stars would not be wrong, because what people are doing is saying this movie star is everything, and put all that is, every girl has to dress like this woman who's the biggest zoina in the world, right? But she's good looking and she acts. So for that, it's a mitzvah to mock it, because they're trying to ascribe value and reality to something that's not real. So you have to pull that down and say, now you don't do it just to be a mocker. You don't say, oh, good, God gives you permission. Really, I always like to mock people. Rabbi says I can't do it. It's an avera. But now I'm letting my mocking ability to come out because the Torah allows it. No, you can't do that. You have to say, I'm mocking it because it's a distortion of reality, and that's a disgusting thing, and I can't have the reality being knocked off like that. So that is the avoda, and this is where we lose our simcha. Mishenichnas adar marvik the simcha. Where does simcha come from? So the non-Jewish rule says simcha comes from the here and now. Amalek's definition of simcha is, does it make you happy this minute? Then that's simcha. And that is the most false joy that exists. Because when the moment passes, the simcha's gone. And now you have to replace it with another one. That's not real simcha. The real simcha comes from deeper places. It comes from looking in the simcha in marriage. Right? Everything can give you simcha. Everything in this world. Marriage can give you simcha. Children can give you simcha. All kinds of things can give you simcha. But if it's just a cheap imitation, the seductive simcha, it doesn't last. And then your whole life depends on, can this thing give me the simcha that I want? Well, if you're looking at things from a deeper perspective, it's a depth that's there. If you marry someone to become that perfected soul, and you work on that, you become that perfected soul, then you're in that state of simcha at all times, and you're not up to others to decide what's going to make you happy or not. And that's the avoda of Purim. That's why we wear masks. We wear masks because we realize most of the things in life are masks. It's the alma de shikra. What you see is not what you get. And you joke and ridicule the mask. You make a mask in place of somebody who the world thinks is popular. So you put that mask on. You're going to put on a football player's outfit. Put it on. Don't make fun of it. What a joke to spend $10 million to pay a guy to stomp on people. That's a joke. And laugh. Laugh at it on Purim. But then make sure on Purim to take off that mask. Because that's not a mask you want to keep on. Now, if you could do that, then you can come to Pesach, and then you can enjoy what Pesach is. Pesach is the Yetzias Mitzrayim, to find the emerging reality. What's there to enjoy about Pesach? What's to enjoy about Pesach? There's only one thing to enjoy about Pesach, that Hashem chose us to be the people, to be the beneficiaries of His love. And He took us out of the world of false illusion. And He put us to be the people to bring perfection to the world. Of all the people, we're the ones that have the most important role and the most serious role. That's what Pesach is. Right? But if Amalek comes along and tells you that Pesach is, having good meals, and having family and friends, and having an amazing Seder, and the kids will perform, it has to be a wonderful performance, and your whole Seder can be destroyed, right? You could have, the kids can destroy your Seder, You taught the kid to the Manishtana, he's not going to say the Manishtana, and he starts jumping around, this and that, you ruined the whole Seder, right? Because that's not what the Seder is. I mean, that's one of the trappings of the Seder. And all the cooking, again, if you understand what it is, ladies, don't get offended, please. You don't have to cook so much for Pesach. Really, you don't have to cook. You really don't have to eat very much at all. If you have a proper Seder, no one's hungry to eat. By the time you're ready to eat, it's 12:30. What can you eat? I've never been able to eat more than a piece of fish, and after the matzah and the charoisis and the mortar and this and that, what can you eat? So Nebuch Hashem says I have to eat. All right, so I take a little piece of fish, a little piece of soup, a little piece of Vizel. But you have Amalek says it's got to be a feast. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. And you're cooking and peeling potatoes and this and that. And you come to the Seder, your mom is finished, and you're so tired, and you're barely hanging on. Then you haven't left Mitzrayim. And Amalek is putting weight on the things that are not the important things. Those aren't the important things. The important things is to feel the freedom. That's the important thing, and that you have to work on. You have to build up. So you have to start 30 days before we start on Purim. So Hashem should help us, that we should be able to have Yiras Hashem, to have the real Yiras Hashem, to see the reality, and then from there develop the true love and the true simcha that will come for the month of Adar. Okay, thank you.